Hello and welcome to the Slingshot channel. Today we are fighting the coronavirus with a battery drill or better, a battery screwdriver. The big question is, I guess, can a battery screwdriver save lives? Because of the coronavirus, the world needs cheap, efficient ventilators. And a lot of high-ranking companies and institutes have actually started to do some research about them. Like the MIT has tried to use an ambu bag to turn it with some machinery into something automatic that comes close to being a true ventilator. I am not an idiot, at least I think that I'm no idiot. You tell me. But so I know that, of course, these devices actually make little sense from a medical point of view, because they actually will cause more harm than good, since a diseased lung is extremely vulnerable and must be treated very, very carefully and not just brutally pressing air into it. So I know that this is more like a mechanical challenge. And when I looked at what like Tesla and the MIT and so on have done, I noticed that they all use like high-tech electrical motors that you cannot find just in any do-it-yourself hardware store. Therefore, I think a battery drill is like the perfect energy source for this. Plus also it is for some time independent from a power grid. But they have serious disadvantages. The biggest disadvantage is that they have a high RPM rate. So this thing here like turns 3 times a second. And this is way too fast, because that will be more like a nobody can survive taking 3 breaths in 1 single second for a longer time. Certainly no one who has a serious disease. So it must turn slower. And actually this drill here can turn very slow, because depending on how hard you press on the trigger here, it can turn faster and slower. But the problem that we run into here is that at the low revs, this thing has no power. I mean, serious torque only starts at maybe 50% of the maximum RPM, and full torque is only there when you completely accelerate it. So what do? Well, we need a transmission. So I built a machine from plywood. What else? Let me show you its features. And this is it, the Corona Gatan machine. I borrowed the name from this incredibly talented artist who builds musical instrument machines with plywood and marbles. So a lot of respect for him. In any case, this actually is a transmission. So it is a 1-to-8 transmission. This means that if you turn 8 times on this wheel here, you got 1 full turn on this one, and on each turn this lever presses on whatever is in that contraption here. Okay, now I'm using a Coke bottle, and actually Coke is none of my sponsors, so unfortunately not. But they should be. In any case, I'm using a Coke bottle, not a real ambu bag. Why not? Because these ambu bags are actually used. They are needed in this crisis. I don't want to take one away from a patient who urgently needs one. Therefore, I'm using this as a replacement. And hopefully nobody's going to miss, and I think I can still recycle it even after I pressed on it 1,000,000 times with my machine. And my wife is a certified nurse and a medical doctor. She said it's about the same amount of pressure that you need to apply to one of these. So therefore we're using it as a replacement, but not as a serious suggestion to use this instead of an ambu bag. So in order to get this to work, we simply take the battery drill and put it into this contraption here. I filed this screw axis in a way that it actually interlocks with the 1/4-inch drive. And now I'm using rubber bands to fix it. There's 2 things that you have to be able to control. First, the frequency, and this should be adjustable between 10 breaths per minute and 20 breaths per minute, not faster. And also the volume of each intake. And these 2 things I achieved with pure mechanical solutions, so you can control both. You can control the speed here, and you can control the amount of volume per breath here with this wheel. In order to control the breathing frequency, I have this little wheel here that really only squeezes the trigger of the battery screwdriver here. So when I start turning it, I can first use a very slow speed. You see, this is a very, very low breathing rate. But I can adjust it freely, let it go faster, and also go full speed like this. And this is close to the 20 breaths per minute frequency you want as a maximum. And with this wheel you control the volume that is pumped into the lungs of the poor patient. Because when I start turning, you can see this is just touching the bottle, but the closer I get, the more deeply will the bottle be squeezed in, and at the maximum setting it almost destroys the bottle. So my Corona Gatan, it's a little bit crazy and it's not entirely meant serious. But I'm wondering, maybe we can have a discussion about, would this maybe in extreme situations still make some sense? Like, what if you just use it as a replacement for someone who has to squeeze on the back for an hour? Wouldn't it be so much easier to do this with a device like this? Maybe. And what if there is a total desperate emergency situation where nothing else is available, just this? Wouldn't this still make any sense? I don't know. I'm not a medical expert, but maybe one of you are. Maybe you are a medical doctor or a trained paramedic, and maybe you can have some feedback for me how to make this better, and if it makes any sense or if it's just a joke that we should all laugh about. And I hope that this actually is something that I've achieved to provide some entertainment to you in the time of the terrible disease. So I hope you like this, because that's it for today. Thanks and bye-bye. Beautiful.